So, real talk, is this the best that we can do? Like when we're setting up our ruins encounters, just having like a couple of ruined buildings and like a ruined fountain and one of these little quintessential angle pieces, is that really the best as GMs we can do when we're setting up our ruin scenes? Personally, I don't think so. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week on the Storycraft Society. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Garmin. This is the Storycraft Society, like I said in the intro, and this week we're going to be doing another Setting the Scenes video. I think this is one of my favorite series to do because it's taking the terrain that we already have and finding creative, exciting ways to use it so that not only do our scenes look more vibrant, but they also challenge our players and all the things that terrain is supposed to do, right? This week we're going to specifically be talking about ruins. How to set up a ruins encounter and make it exciting and dynamic and look better than just a bunch of ruined buildings that are scattered out over your battle mat. So without any further ado, let's dive into it and talk about what makes setting up ruins so great. So the first thing that we always need to do when we are getting into these Setting the Scenes videos is we need to talk about what exactly you're going to be setting your ruins up for. Now, this might seem like really basic information, right? Is it going to be a bandit hideout? Is it going to be a monsters lair? Is it going to be an exploration challenge for your players? All of these things are very interesting and different. They should be addressed differently when setting up terrain. Unless I was going to make this video 1,000 hours long, I wouldn't have time to go over all of them. So I'm going to kind of go over the basic points of what I think is the lowest hanging fruit of the three, which is the bandit hideout. But really, you should take the time to identify what the goal of your players going into those ruins is going to be, and then take that moment to figure out how can you use the scene to enhance that experience. So first things first, we have our battle mat down, and the next thing that we need to do is start filling the space. Now, if everyone paid attention last week, I painted up a piece of ruins terrain. That is the exact reason why we're doing this video right now. I got so excited about that piece that it got me thinking about ruins and then got me excited to talk about ruins and setting ruins up. So we're gonna make that piece, the Arcane Sanctum from Terrainify, the centerpiece of our ruins, and we'll go ahead and start there. The next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to start scattering around different ruined buildings and ruins pieces. I have this other set of ruins from Terrainify that I'm just absolutely in love with, these ancient ruins sets. They're just painted in their basic gray color scheme, but I absolutely love the look of this because it's perfect for ruins. It doesn't need to do anything other than identify quickly with the eye that it is stone, and I'm going to be scattering those around with some of my ruined buildings, and that's going to get the table space filled out. And then as soon as I have that done, we're going to dive down to the table and I'm going to explain why I put certain things where I did. So for my layout here, I did my best to get things set up in what I felt was the most dynamic and interesting way. I want to take a quick second away from the video to talk about this week's sponsor, which is my wonderful friends over at Terrainify. Now, I'm going to start this off by saying this video would not be possible if it was not for them. And I don't mean that in some kind of like crappy monetary way, like, you know, if they wouldn't have sponsored this video, I wouldn't be able to make content or whatever. Not like that. Literally, this video would not be possible without them, because seeing their Arcane Sanctum on their website is what sparked the idea for this week's video. So I'm telling you, go check their stuff out at Terrainify.com because they have so many cool pieces. They've got STLs of all of their products if you want to print them yourself. You can get them unfinished so that they come ready for you to do all of your special touches to get them looking exactly the way that you want, or you can take all the fuss out of it and you can get them to do their super version where they put all of the flock and the color and everything else. I mean, literally they have price points for everybody. I encourage you to go back and check out all of my Terrainify videos. I've done some Terrainify specific videos, specifically last week if you haven't checked it out, if you want to learn more from my perspective. But the one thing that I'll leave you with is that genuinely they are really good people. They're people that I'm really excited to send you all to. So please go check them out. And they are super, super generous. They actually gave us a discount code. So everyone from the Storycraft Society family can put in Storycraft 25 into the Terrainify.com website, and you can get 25% off your entire order. Seriously, to everyone over there, John, Heidi, you all are so great. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And let's get back to the video. If the ruins that you see in this video are not enough to like sell you on going to check their stuff out, then I worry that this might not be the right hobby for you, because it's like a plastic addiction over there. I'm like looking at stuff like, no, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. Go check them out. Also, with that said, I made sure to try and do my best to tell a story with my pieces. Like this Arcane Sanctum piece is going to be the centerpiece of it. Maybe this actual big arcane piece was used for rituals by some long forgotten mage society. And so then all of the buildings are kind of focused in on this big, massive spell focus right in the center of, you know, this little town or village or conclave or whatever it was. So if you notice, I have all of the buildings with their doorways kind of pointed in so that everything is looking at this. That also has another effect where it gets all of my players to focus on this the most. That's something that we can use to aid our players, or we can use that to kind of hide other things from the players. Their eyes are going to be here, which would let you put things and space things out that they weren't expecting in other places. Now, the next thing that I notice about this specific scene is that I notice that it isn't deep enough. It feels very flat. It feels very boring. The pieces are nice, but they just aren't jumping out at me. So I think the next thing that I want to do is the number one tip that I have for all scene setting, and that's going to be to start adding elevation. We're going to start raising things up. Like we're going to get this piece up so that it's higher than everything else. And then I might end up moving some things around so that we have a little bit more balance and it looks better with the up. Remember, these scenes are going to always be changing and evolving as you add new pieces. So let's see where we get with that, and then we'll check back in. Okay, wow, so a lot of things changed around once I started adding the elevation. And that might not be the last change, by the way. That's just the current version. What I've gotten is now the elevation really allows certain things to pull the eye. I really like how I've still got all of the buildings kind of focused inward towards this spot, but it doesn't feel so loose and spread out. The next thing that I need to do is start figuring out pathways, how things are going to get from one area to another. A good battle map is not going to be the type of thing where you can just walk from one corner directly to the other corner and that's it. A lot of people actually complain about 5e combat, that all it is everybody walks up to the monster walks up to them, everybody hits the monster hits everybody until the monster drops. It doesn't have to be that way, and our terrain can specifically encourage that not to be the case. So let's do a really specific example here. So we know that the Arcane Sanctum is going to be the centerpiece for our bandit hideout, and we know that likely our bandit big bad evil guy is probably going to be up here. So now what we need is to find pathways for the players to be able to get to them, but they're also a little bit protected through part of the fight, right? Our players don't just have to run up to him and hit him, they have to make tactical choices to be able to even get to him to engage. If you look, we have a couple of those, right? The first one is going to be that they can kind of come up this hill here and around. So now we can grab a bridge and drop it right there. Now what we have is our characters. In order to get up here, we'll have to come over and around and up. But it's not fun in D&D if we take away our players' agency and our characters' creativity. So we need more than one option. So if this is option 1, we need an option 2. So that's why I put this particular building right up against my cliff stackers, because it's really easy for the characters to make their way into this area up onto these walls, and then that will get them up as well, but not without skill checks. You've got a character with a climbing speed. Here is their opportunity to show off that specific skill that makes them so special. But if they do and they get into a one-on-one fight with the big bad guy, wow, then they now are maybe in a scary situation. This is the kind of thing that we're looking for all across our ruins to try and figure out. And this is a bandit hideout, right? So maybe the next thing that we need to do is start spider webbing a whole bunch of walkways and things all over the tops of these pieces. That will start to get us so that there's all of these high grounds and low ground situations basically everywhere all across the board. So here is a little trick tip. If you've got an area like this where you want to have a piece, but it won't stay, you can break out your poster tack, rip off a little piece, mush it together so it gets sticky, and then you can place that right on the areas that you want your piece to stick. And now you can take your little walkway piece and push that down nice and sturdy, and now it'll stick. Let's go. So by taking the time to add a little bit of elevation and then pathways through that elevation, we automatically have a huge bang for our buck. You start to see all of these little combat encounters and stories just blossoming out of the scene, and that to me is the gem in all of this. The goal of this is to make your mind want to run your character across that platform. Getting that to come together with just 2 easy steps of restating elevation and then pathways through that elevation is basically all that you can ask for. So the next step that we're going to do is start covering some of my generic rules. The first one is going to be when you have city terrain, and ruins are basically a once civilization, city, town, village thing, you need to bring some wild into your city. Just like when we did our city battle map, we're going to take and get trees and all of those sorts of things to start breaking up some of the sight lines and bringing this all together. The next thing that we're going to do after that is going to start making this place feel lived in. And how do we do lived in? That's scatter terrain. We start putting scatter terrain all over the place to make this feel like it is a place where the bandits are living. This is where they spend their time. This is where they are plotting all their evil machinations, right? This is where they store their gold. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And so with that said, we need to get the things that they would have: boxes, crates, kegs, tents, campfires, and camping places. All of these are going to be really important to bringing this scene to life. So to start wrapping this up, I'm going to let you all in on a little bit of my insecurity about these videos. Sometimes I worry that when someone watches one of the Setting the Scenes videos, everything that I say, they would be like, yeah, and everybody knows that, or that's so simple, or that's obviously something that everybody thinks about, whatever. But what I try to tell myself when those kind of thoughts creep in is that that's the point. All of this stuff is stuff that we all know how to do. We all can think through these kinds of processes. It's just for whatever reason, sometimes we can't get those to organize in the right direction, or sometimes we forget a step, or sometimes we forget to add this or bring that in. So hopefully these videos are useful to you. If not useful, then super fun to watch, because I enjoy the heck out of getting to set up a scene. Hopefully you like watching it as much as I enjoy doing it. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do all of the YouTube stuff, like subscribe to the channel if you haven't, share this video with a friend that you think would enjoy it. That's the #1 way that you can help a small YouTube channel. Like the video, obviously, leave comments. I love hearing what everybody always has to say. But here it is, setting up an epic set of ruins, taking it from this to this. I'm really pleased with the way that it turned out, and I cannot wait for my players to have to figure out how to get all the way up here from the edge of the battle mat. So, thank you so much for watching, and until next week, I'll be seeing you. So just a real quick interlude about a piece that Terrainify sent me that didn't make it into this week's build is the Arcane Astrolabe. And the reason that I wanted to take a second to talk about it is this piece is so cool, and most importantly, it's the perfect example of what I think is why I, as a crafter, would use 3D printing. I could muck around and try to make something like this out of foam. I could buy all kinds of foam cutting jigs and things to be able to get down and do all of the noodly bits. I could spend hours trying to pencil in all of the detail that this has, but as a crafter, I just don't think that that is a good usage of my time. And I love this piece so much, so if this is a piece that you're interested in, you should check it out. This is one of my favorite pieces that Terrainify has ever sent me, and I didn't want it to get forgotten just because it didn't find its way into this particular build. I wanted to give it its spotlight.